got a loaded show of Commanders news and rumors coming at you here on the Commanders Report. First up, we're going to be talking about Adam Peters and his comments at the pre-draft press conference today in Washington, where he says that they are not trading down from number 2 overall, and they will be taking a quarterback of some sort at number 2 overall in this year's NFL draft. I'll share my comments on that. Also, Jayden Daniels, does he not want to be a Washington Commander? Well, his agent has been kind of putting some little nuggets out there on Twitter that he may not want to come to Washington. I'll break those down also on today's show. And then somebody that I really respect in the NFL draft space, Daniel Jeremiah, says that he thinks Maye is going to be the pick at number 2. Drake Maye out of North Carolina. Very interesting stuff there. We'll break down what DJ had to say about the number 2 pick. And then also Dane Brugler from The Athletic put out his 7-round mock draft for all 32 NFL teams. Will break down his picks for the Washington Commanders to finish up today's show. So it's going to be a lot of stuff today. Make sure you bear with me here. It's going to be a longer one today, Commanders Nation. But make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're going to be going live for our coverage of round 1 of the 2024 NFL Draft. We are going to listen and react to whoever the Commanders take at number 2 overall together, and we are going to usher in a new era of Washington Commanders football. So join us next week, Thursday. I don't know exactly what time we're going to be going live, but make sure you click that subscribe button to not miss a thing. Now let's start with what GM Adam Peters had to say today at his pre-draft press conference, which is that they're likely going to stay at number 2 and they're going to be taking a quarterback. So if you're hoping that they're going to trade down or, whatever the case may be, don't hold your breath, all right? It looks like they're going to be staying put. This is what Peters had to say at the podium today. We feel good about staying at number 2. Don't see a lot of scenarios where we would trade down when talking about the number 2 overall pick. So now the big question becomes not if they're going to stay at number 2 or in trade down or whatever, but the question now becomes what quarterback are they going to take? And at this point in the process, Peters says that he and head coach Dan Quinn, they're getting really close to figuring out who that guy is, but they have not 100% decided on who the next franchise quarterback for the Washington Commanders is going to be. The likely options here, I know that they brought in Michael Penix Jr. for a visit. Don't really expect him to go number 2. I think that if they wanted him, they might trade down a couple of spots. But realistically, I think it's going to be Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye, or J.J. McCarthy. And really, the two main guys in this discussion, at least in my opinion, are Daniels and Maye, who I just think have a whole nother level of high upside that J.J. McCarthy just doesn't bring to the table, at least in my opinion. So let's start with the first one of those names here with Jayden Daniels, where it's possible that he just doesn't want to be a Washington Commander and he wants to fall to number 3 to the New England Patriots or potentially find his way to Las Vegas with a trade-up scenario with the Raiders. Jayden Daniels' agent, Ron Baker, expressed his criticism of Washington's mass draft visit that they had this week. The Commanders brought in a bunch of prospects this week on a singular visit at Topgolf, as well as to their facility the next day. And that included 4 quarterbacks, including Daniels, Maye, McCarthy, and of course, Michael Penix Jr. Then Baker, his agent, took to Twitter and liked a couple of posts that are just criticizing the Commanders. This is the first one he liked. It says, how many companies do this? Puts them around their peers, bring players from a team along, and see how they interact. Who the F cares how they interact with players they will never play with? This doesn't make sense to me. Again, this is Jayden Daniels' agent liking this post. Another one that he liked. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk bashes the Commanders for bringing in 4 quarterback prospects all at once rather than individually. Why would you dilute your ability to get maximum time and just the opportunity to evaluate? You're trying to evaluate 4 guys at once. And then Ron Butler quote tweeted this one that he liked, and he put a thinking emoji on there, kind of indicating like this isn't a good idea. Why would the Commanders do this? And it's just a very interesting development here. And this obviously went viral. Commanders fans are like, does Jayden Daniels not want to be a Commander? And of course, teams that are hoping that Daniels falls, like Raiders fans, Vikings fans, all these different fans, Patriots fans, took to Twitter and said Jayden Daniels isn't going to be a Washington Commander. And listen, guys, I'll admit it. I'm a little bit worried about these likes and about this messaging that Ron Baker is putting out there about his client, because it's not like, agents just go rogue like this. This is a very calculated move. However, along with liking those posts, he also liked this post here from DC Sports News that says, this is Jayden Daniels' agent disagreeing with the take, in my opinion. Let's not let Twitter dilute draft thoughts, please. Now, here's the thing, man. He just liked posts that indicate criticism, and now he's liking a post that says the opposite. These things don't line up. So I don't know what's going on here. Potentially Ron Baker realized he made a mistake and he liked a different post to kind of clear the air and say, Jayden would love to be a Commander, all these different things. At this point, I'm just hoping that all of this stuff, all of this Twitter nonsense, it just means nothing. Ron Baker was just kind of being, he was bored on his couch that night and he liked a couple of posts that he probably shouldn't have liked, and Jayden Daniels wants to be a Commander and he's going to be happy to be here. But at this point, man, you just don't really see agents go rogue like the way that we saw from Ron Baker here. And it's very possible that Jayden Daniels, who maybe doesn't want to say himself that he doesn't want to go to Washington, maybe he's delegating it to his agent to kind of put out there, maybe this guy doesn't want to go to the nation's capital and be their next franchise quarterback. So I hope it's nothing, but because it's his agent and because these agents rarely do stuff like this without the player's permission, I'm definitely a little bit worried. But let me know down there in the comment section, does this change your opinion on who the pick is going to be at number 2? Type JD if you still think it's going to be Jayden Daniels. Type DM if you think it's going to be Drake Maye, or type JJ for JJ McCarthy for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So now let's shift from Jayden Daniels to Drake Maye, where NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah says that he thinks that his close friend, Adam Peters, who he's known for years, by the way, is going to take Drake Maye at number 2 over Jayden Daniels. And this is kind of the first insider/analyst that I've seen in quite a while that has had Drake Maye above Jayden Daniels at this point in the process. This is what DJ had to say about Maye. In terms of what they're going to do, honestly, I've known Washington General Manager Adam Peters forever. He's not going to say a word. I think all of us are going to find out who they're picking once they get on the clock and turn in the card there in Detroit. I've been connecting them to Drake Maye for a long time. I just felt like that the fit there. I think about Dan Quinn going to a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan and what Matt Ryan was coming out, strengths, weaknesses, and I thought it actually married up pretty well with Drake. So that had been my connection there. I think anybody that said they know exactly what Washington is doing is lying, because I don't think Adams is saying a word. So listen, guys, I do think there is some truth to this. I don't think Adam Peters is really telling anybody except for the people the closest to him who the pick is going to be. I don't think he's leaking it out to media members or anything out there. And a lot of the stuff that the media puts out there, it's purposely put out there by these teams as smokescreens. So is it possible that all the Jayden Daniels hype that we've been hearing is a complete smokescreen and they're going to go with Drake Maye? Absolutely. I do think there's some truth to the fact that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn have not made a final decision on who they're going to take at number 2. However, where I disagree with Daniel Jeremiah here, and mind you, I respect Daniel a lot, okay? I don't think he's a bad analyst or anything like that, but I do not like the comparison to Matt Ryan at all. They are completely different players. Other than the fact that they both have strong arms and good touch on their deep balls, that's about it, all right? Drake is a much better athlete. He's a much better playmaker out of structure than Matt Ryan ever was, and Matt Ryan was deadly accurate even going back to college, whereas Drake Maye probably has the worst accuracy out of all 6 of the top quarterbacks in this year's NFL draft class. So I just don't get that comparison whatsoever. And if you're trying to link a quarterback to Dan Quinn because of that Matt Ryan connection or comp, I just don't think that makes a ton of sense, at least from my perspective and what I've seen on Maye's film. So next up here, we're going to be talking about Dane Brugler's 7-round mock draft, 9 picks for the Washington Commanders to react to and grade here in just a second. But before we get into that, I want to tell you about today's sponsor at Fanatics, and they have officially licensed 2024 Washington Commanders draft hats for you guys to purchase today when you go to chatsports.com/24DH. I'm going to put that link in the comments and description of today's show. Guys, we understand that this year is going to be a historic draft class for the Washington Commanders, good or bad, honestly, right? And all the players that get drafted this year, they're going to be wearing this exact draft hat right here, and you can get it right now from our friends at Fanatics for a great price when you go to chatsports.com/24DH. Again, I'll put the link in the comments and description to make it easy for you guys, but chatsports.com/24DH. Now let's get into this 7-round mock draft. Lots of picks to react to here, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. With that number 1 pick at number 2 overall, in round 1, he has Jayden Daniels. I mean, most people have Jayden Daniels at this point in the process, and for me, that's an easy A. That's what I would do. There's no complaints from me taking the Heisman Trophy here at number 2 overall. But then we get into round 2, and Brugler has the Commanders taking Patrick Paul, offensive tackle out of Houston, at number 36. And I think this is a reach for Paul, who I think needs at least a year to kind of get his feet wet in the National Football League. And I don't think the Washington Commanders really have time to do that, and they don't have the personnel to allow Paul to take a year to really learn the position, to work on his footwork, to work on his balance, to work on his hand placement. And he's got the long arms and the big body and the movement skills that you look for, and the guys that really like traits like Brugler just love Patrick Paul, and I understand that, but at the end of the day, the Commanders need somebody to protect Jayden Daniels. This was one of the worst offensive lines in football last year, and you need a left tackle to start right now, and Patrick Paul isn't that, all right? He's somebody that you sit on the bench for a year, and hopefully he develops. I have a round 3 grade on him, and taking him at the top of round 2 is a big reach for me, so I'm going to give it a C-. Then we go to pick number 40 here, and he has the Commanders taking Ennis Rakestraw, cornerback out of Mizzou, here at 40. And I like this pick. I can't say I love this pick. I think Rakestraw is a good player. He's a little bit underwhelming in terms of his athletic tools, but he's really good in coverage, both zone and man. He's going to be a really solid number 2 corner in this league for a long time. If the Commanders draft him at 40, I think he's a day 1 starter, either in the slot or outside. Good player overall, so I'll give it a B, but I think maybe you could have got a little bit better value at the position with some of the guys that could be here at pick number 40. Then we get into round 3 here, and he takes Adisa Isaac, edge rusher out of Penn State. And I honestly, guys, I don't love Isaac. I think I'm lower on him because I don't really see the high-end pass rushing upside in terms of his profile as an NFL pass rusher. I think he's ready to come in right away and be a really good run-stuffing type edge rusher. He's really good against the run, but I just don't really see the skill set to be a dominant number 1 or even really like true number 2 edge rusher in the league. I have a round 4 grade on him. I think you could probably take him late round 3, but pick number 67 is a bit of a reach, and you need a number 1 edge rusher for the future. I don't think this pick gets it done, so I'll give it a C+. Then I actually like Roger Rosengarten better than I like Patrick Paul. I have a higher grade on Rosengarten, even though he's smaller. The play strength isn't quite as good, but what he's known for is pass protection. He plays with really good footwork and balance. Hand placement is all there. He played on the right side in college, but I think because of his size, he's probably going to be more of a left tackle in the National Football League. He's getting round 1 buzz right now. The 49ers are thinking about taking him there at number 31. So if you're getting him here at number 78, I really like this pick. And honestly, I think Rosengarten probably beats out Patrick Paul in camp if this ends up happening. So I'll give this an A-. Then we get into another pick here in round 3, the final pick of round 3. And Brugler has the Commanders taking Brendan Rice, wide receiver out of USC. Now, I get the fact that he's Jerry Rice's son and all these different things, and he played with Caleb Williams, and he has some nice catches there. Good red zone threat, decent in contested catch situations, but he's just not going to be a separator at the next level. I mean, the Commanders need size. I would probably rather take Brendan Rice on day 3 than on day 2, but I guess it's fine. I'll give it a B-. Then in round 5 here, this is probably where I would have liked to take Brendan Rice personally, but Tip Reitman, tight end out of Illinois, a pretty unremarkable player, in my opinion. Getting him in round 5, I don't think he's going to be much of an impact for you, even after a year working behind Zach Ertz. I'm going to give that one a C-. Edifuan Ulofoshio. Okay, man, that's a mouthful, but I think I got it done here, guys. B- for me in round 5. Undersized, but very experienced, good in coverage. he's somebody that could be a rotational piece, even though like the Commanders got a lot of inside linebackers in free agency. I'm not sure how much of a need linebacker really is. Then in round 7, you got I can't even say this guy's first name. I'm not even going to try. It's so weird, but it's D. Anthony, safety from Ole Miss. Don't like this pick a whole lot. I mean, it's a round 7 pick, but the athletic profile isn't all that great. I mean, he's got some size to him, I guess, so maybe he can be a decent backup to Jeremy Chin for this year, whatever the case may be, but this isn't going to be an impact pick in my opinion. I'll give that one a C. So my overall grade here, all 9 picks. I mean, there's some picks I like, but there's quite a few picks here that I think kind of missed the mark here from Brugler. So I'll give it a B- personally. I mean, whenever you get a guy like Jayden Daniels, who I think is the right pick at the quarterback spot, the most important position, it's hard to give anything lower than a B-. But I mean, I don't like the Patrick Paul pick. I'm not a big fan of the Adisa Isaac pick at number 67. I think Brendan Rice is a little bit of a reach there in round 3 as well. And I don't really like any of the day 3 picks there. I'm not sure how much impact those guys are going to make. So because you get the quarterback, I'll give it a B-, but there's just not a whole lot to write home here in my opinion. Some decent players, so I can't give it too low of a grade, but overall I kind of like it. Now grade Brugler's mock for me down there in the comment section. I'm giving it a B-, but let me know what you're thinking, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know how Brugler did in the 7-round mock. And that'll be it for today's news and rumors segment here on the Commanders Report. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already, because we're going to be having great, in-depth, extensive Commanders draft content all throughout draft week. You're not going to want to miss any of it, so make sure you click that subscribe button right now.